It was a war of attrition last time out at Le Mans for the drivers of the Flying Husky Racing Series, with many of them finding the historic Circuit de la Sarthe a bit too much to handle. But this week, the Huskies find themselves headed out to another one of Europe's most famous and fearsome racing circuits, Belgium's Spa-Francorchamps. Will the drivers be able to handle the treacherous corners of this hallowed circuit, or will Eau Rouge, Pouhon, and Blanchiment catch them out? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Flying Husky Racing Series, and you'll see it all here live on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm DJ Clark, and with me in the booth is Reese Gardner. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Spa is not only one of the most historic circuits in existence, but it's also one of the most majestic. Let's head over to our track guide to learn more about this gem of a track nestled in the heart of the Ardennes forest.
Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchiment have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round.
Well, Reese, with these Formula 3s, they should feel right at home at a place like Spa, but what can we expect out of them here?
You can definitely expect a lot of slipstreaming battles down the Kemmel Straight and towards the run up to Blanchiment for sure. These cars have certainly raced here many times over the years. Formula 3, of course, one of the big stepping stones to Formula 1 over the decades. And a lot of these turns are medium speed here at Spa-Francorchamps, so what you need is a driving style that will put a bit more weight onto the front end while also keeping the rear stable on the exit. Remember, it's fixed setup here, so the drivers can't adjust much on these cars.
Well, we will get to those cars out on track, but before we do, we want to mention our sponsors for tonight's event. First off is Norsled. Norsled is a nonprofit animal welfare organization dedicated to rescuing, rehabilitating, and finding homes for unwanted, abandoned, and abused husky dogs. Today, every Flying Husky Racing track day or car event benefits Norsled, with a portion of the proceeds donated to them. Even if you can't adopt, you can still help and ensure care for these amazing animals through your support. Save a husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at flyinghusky.racing. We're also sponsored by Flying Husky Racing. Flying Husky Racing is a car club based in the Pacific Northwest that delivers premium track days and car events for automotive enthusiasts. FHR is dedicated to safety, development, and building community among members and participants. Find out more on the web at flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing. Track days are the best days. Well, as we get ready to get racing here at Spa, let's run you very quickly through our race details for the night. We are, as Reese said, driving the Solara F3s in a fixed setup. Drivers are currently out on track for a 15-minute open qualifying session. Now, that open session will be important because they will be able to take full advantage of the draft around here as they set their hot laps. It'll be then followed by a 25-minute race, and a fast repair is available. And like we saw last time out at Le Mans, sometimes that may come in handy, and you may see yourself moving up the order as a result of it. But as we start to look at these times, Reese, it's Andrew Hardiman on pole right now by about 0.5 of a second over Michael Broomhead.
Indeed, and Hardman set the fastest time in the practice session as well. He and Broomhead were very close, only separated by 0.07 of a second. We're looking at Calvin Lee at the moment. He's making his way through the turn after the Kemmel Straight. That was Malmedy, the right-hander that he just went through, then down to Bruxelles, which is downhill descending hairpin. About second gear, I'd say, in these cars, and this middle sector of the track is very crucial to get right. As I said, a lot of medium speed turns through here, but also one high speed one, DJ. This one right here, Puon, this descending double right-hander, one of the fastest corners on the track, and you can push it all the way to the curb on the outside. Get a good run out of there. You can probably line up a pass here into the Fagnes chicane.
Exactly, and that Puhan chicane, very, very tricky in some of the sports cars that we've seen around here, but no less difficult in these open wheelers. So there you see Calvin Lee going a little bit off track there at the exit of that chicane. Now, off tracks are always a key thing around here at Spa. The limits are very, very difficult. We've heard a lot of drivers complain about them over the years, but they're going to have to be careful in this qualifying session, because if you do pick up one of those off tracks, it is going to invalidate your lap, as Calvin Lee goes through another one of those fast corners out there, that being Blanchimont.
Yeah, it's completely flat out in these cars. You might want to do a bit of a confidence lift through there if you're behind another car with the aero push that happens when you're up close behind another machine. But Lee finishing his lap there, 2 minute 13.686. And on the subject of the off tracks here at Spa, this track is one of the venues that debuted iRacing's brand new 4-tire off-track detection system, because, yeah, as you mentioned, DJ, drivers are very vocal in the past about how strict the track limits are here at Spa. You can get an off-track 1X, in the past at least, in places that, you know, in real life wouldn't be a violation of track limits at all. So nowadays, per the most recent couple of builds, now you can extend the track in quite a few places, particularly out of Stavelot, out of Malmedy as well. So you should be able to see drivers using a bit more curb through there. You will have to be careful of slowdowns though, particularly at the top of Eau Rouge and Radillon, because there's a curb there at the top of the hill. You can certainly put your whole car over it, but if you go beyond it, you are going to get a slowdown all the way down the Kemmel Straight, as Broomhead now starting another lap, and it looks like he has taken provisional pole by 0.3.
He has indeed. Not really a surprise there. Broomhead being the class of the field for most of this season, as we watch Gene Hawks here making his way around Blanchimont. Ooh, that was a little bit sketchy there on exit. Lucky to keep that thing under him at that point. And yeah, it's a great point about coming up over the top of Radillon. There's, Gene Hawks goes around through the bus stop, putting a little extra smoke there just for kicks and grins. But we've seen in a couple other series that we've covered here, Reese, drivers picking up that slowdown over the top of Radeon during the race, and it's really coming back to bite them as they have to lift down the Kemmel Straight and just cost them all of that momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. You won't want to have that happen in the race. You're going to have to nail your turn into that Eau Rouge Radeon complex. It's flat out one of the best sequences of corners in all of motorsports. Just passing where Gene Hawkes spun a few moments ago is Calvin Lee through the chicane. Will he be able to improve on that 2:13.685? Unfortunately not. He's off by just over a tenth of a second there. Nicholas Collender, meanwhile, fourth at the moment, 2:14.1, and 2:14.5 is not going to be an improvement for him. Drivers are running out of time here to set their laps, as even Hardman can't improve on his time here on the second run. I'm just going to check the track temperature quickly. It's 32 degrees Celsius. The Fahrenheit conversion I will leave to you Americans out there, but it seems like, you know, a reasonably warm track. There we go. Thank you very much, Sean. 89 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature. So not a hot track, but not exactly a cold one either. You want to take care of the heat going into those tires, otherwise you're not going to be able to take advantage through the quick corners.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit right in that sort of Goldilocks zone that we like to talk about, where it's not going to be too cold, not going to be too hot. It's going to be just right for these drivers. Here comes Broomhead. Broomhead going even faster to the tune of about 3/10 there, setting the first sub 2:12 lap that we've seen. That's a very impressive run for the 00. And as he's crossed over the line, he'll have one more to tee up, it looks like. So we're right on board with Gene Hawkes. He'll be able to come around here and will ostensibly have one more lap at the line.
Yeah, here's hoping. With the times being set here by the drivers, yeah, he should have enough time to get one on the board still. Maybe a little bit of understeer there through Blanchimont, just drifted a bit wide of the apex and onto the exit curb. That is one of the places where you can put a couple of wheels onto the AstroTurf and not get an off track now, so I think Hawkes might be safe with this one. Can he beat that 2:18? He certainly can. Takes more than a second out of that time, but it's not going to be enough to beat Hans Salnave for 5th place at the moment. What about Calvin Lee, meanwhile?
Lee, one of the newer faces to this series, the Northwest driver making his way through the bus stop. Little bit of a wiggle there mid-corner and a big wiggle on the exit. He lost it, and he's going to take a tow there, so that's going to be Lee's qualifying done and dusted. Collender able to avoid that pitfall that we saw Lee have. He's going to charge to the line and set a 2:13.6. That's going to be his best time, and just to rub salt into the wounds of Calvin Lee, he's able to bump his way up to 3rd. There you see Andrew Hardman going faster, closing the gap down to Mike Broomhead to about 2/10, but still not enough to be able to get over that 00's very impressive provisional pole time.
Yeah, very good time there from Broomhead. Salnave unfortunately overshooting the braking into the bus stop chicane and those curbs with the sausage on the inside to prevent cutting. That's partially what sent Calvin Lee and Gene Hawkes awry, because, you know, it obviously unsettles the car. These cars are so stiff and very easy to spin. How does Broomhead handle them? Well, he widens out the entry to the second phase of the bus stop chicane, and a nice clean exit there. It's not going to be an improvement on a 2:11, but he is safe for pole position for the time being. Hardman's going to have to find 3/10 if he's even still on a lap at this stage. Oh my goodness, Gene Hawkes heavily into the wall out of the Fagnes chicane, and that is a wheel gone. His session's over too.
It is indeed, but Andrew Hardman's session does continue as he makes his way through what was formerly known as the No-Name Corner. I've also heard it called Speaker's Corner. A couple of years ago, it was officially named Jackie Ix. Now makes his way down through Pouhon right now. Hardman going to try to get the best time he can. Although I have to say here, Reese, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to starting in second to be able to get a good tow behind the leader going up the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, agreed. The draft very strong here at Spa. We saw how strong it was at Le Mans last week, and especially up the Kemmel Straight and this stretch running up here. certainly get an excellent run off the car in front. So yeah, if you're the car ahead, you're punching a hole in the air for everyone else to take advantage of. So if Hardman can stay in second through the first couple of turns, so he should have a good run up the Kemmel Straight. But we know that Broomhead did take a while to sort out his standing starts in these cars, so it remains to be seen how clean the start's going to be. Hardman, though, he's going to set a 2:11. Oh my goodness, that is pole by 0.004 of a second.
Oh my goodness gracious, but I've got news. Mike Broomhead looks quick as well, but we're going to check and see about Hans Salnave. He looks like he's got a pretty good time coming, working through Blanchemont. He's about 0.5 up on his best time at the moment. I don't think that's going to be enough to usurp Calvin Lee, but let's see what Hans can do here coming through the bus stop chicane. Ooh, very sketchy line there, not carrying a lot of momentum. That'll probably hurt him a little bit, and indeed, he's not able to set a faster time. But here comes Broomhead. Broomhead is up on... Oh, no, he's into the pits!
Oh, man. Well, then, maybe Broomhead thought that in the final sectors of that lap, it was not able to be completed and set a reasonable time there. So he has lost pole position. That's a interesting turn of events right there, DJ.
Yes, it is. And speaking of that pole position, let's walk you through the grid here as we get ready to go racing. Starting off on that pole, you just saw him pip it away. Andrew Hardman is going to be leading off from P1, followed by Michael Broomhead. Nicholas Collender will be lining up behind him with Calvin Lee to his outside. And then in row 3, it'll be Hans Salnave and Gene Hawks. So Reese, as we wait for this time to tick down here, talk to me about what you think the strategy is for this start. Obviously, the draft is very, very key. Do you want to be leading or do you want to be behind?
Well, I think initially you would want to be behind, but with how close Hardman and Broomhead are, I think that they're going to actually help each other out here. Being so close on lap times. The other drivers, of course, setting their times reasonably, but not able to get close to the top 2 in terms of pace. So if they can stick with each other, draft with each other, pull a gap over everyone else, they'll be able to fight amongst themselves for the victory. But this start, not only are you going to have to nail the standing start, it looks like everyone's going to be starting on a slight downhill grade with 6 cars on the grid, but certainly into the La Source hairpin as well is a great overtaking opportunity. So certainly get on the brakes nice and late for that one. Try your best to get a good exit and don't run too wide out into the runoff area, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, that's really going to be what's key as we wait here on the grid, just waiting, for Michael Broomhead. And there he is. We are getting ready to go racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. Clock ticks down, lights are on.
Oh, jump start.
Jump start for Michael Broomhead. That's going to be a massive penalty to him. The rest of the field is off right now. Broomhead trying to get ahead. I'm not sure what was going on there, but that's a big lead already for Andrew Hardman. Lee and Collender almost coming together through La Source.
Oh, and a spinner there. That is Calvin Lee coming around out of La Source. Looks like he's got a bit of damage to his front wing as well, but my goodness, Broomhead did a pass to Maldonado. Remember at the Belgian Grand Prix some years back, Maldonado did a jump start and did the exact same thing that Broomhead did. So he's got a penalty hanging over his head for sure. And with no pit stops required in these races, I think that's the win gone for Broomhead.
I think you very well may be right, Reese. That is not good for...
Broomhead spun.
Oh, and there he goes around.
Oh, just tags the wall there, coming out of the Lacombe chicane. The rest of the field go by him, and he's into the pits. My goodness. So Andrew Hardman now into the lead of this one, and by a country mile, effectively.
Yeah, he really is. That gap already massive here at about 4 or 5 seconds. It is very, very large. Working their way down the hill now as they start to tackle this. Now, Reese, are their tires up to temperature at this point, or are they still having to soft shoe it around here coming down through Puhal?
Oh, they're still having to soft shoe it. I mean, you see Hardman just didn't have the grip that he needed through that corner. Actually, I think that was Collender we were taking a look at through there. Another driver that's been having a lot of issues here on the first lap is Hans Salnave. Those tires obviously not up to temperature for him. He went into the wall in Bruxelles and is now missing his front wing, and he's limping back to the pits. The rest of the field, though, continuing on.
Yeah, no doubt he will be taking advantage of that faster pair as we watch the field slowly work their way down into the long run out of Stavelo and down into Blanchimont. There is Nicholas Colander on your screen as he comes around right through there, getting ready to line up for the bus stop.
Indeed. Well, Colander enjoying a nice gap here over Gene Hawkes to the tune of about 3.5 seconds. And a beautiful shot here. Got to give massive props to Dougie Beard for his brilliant camera work, providing the camera packs for us here at Global Sim Racing Channel. A lovely wide shot of La Source as well. Bit of an early turn in there for Nicholas Colander, but sometimes that's good. You can take advantage of the little dip on the inside of La Source to really rotate yourself around the hairpin, but it's all about the acceleration and this section of the circuit, keeping it nice and flat through a Rouge and Radillon. Magnificent sequence of turns there, and Colander carrying a good amount of momentum here onto the Kemmel Straight, just hitting 240 kilometers an hour as he passes under the bridge. And if the drivers behind him can get close enough, this right here is one of the prime overtaking spots into Lacombe. You can brake way later than you think for this turn.
Yeah, you really can. Getting onto the brakes late there, trying to dive down into the inside. Let's go ahead and take a look of the replay here of that incident with Michael Broomhead losing it going out of the Lacombe chicane. Now, remember, he was technically scored in the lead, but had to take his penalty. Reese, talk us through this.
Well, he comes into Lacombe, takes the curb, just gets a little bit too crossed up over the left-hand curb. The car was a bit unsettled, I think, on the direction change, and getting the rear into the wall like that, that's where all the vital components of the car are located. The engine, the drivetrain, the rear wing. So for Broomhead, that was pretty much all she wrote, and he has not made it back out of the pits. I think that's a retirement for the championship leader.
Yeah.
Potential that he could still be waiting to tow and to serve that penalty, but yeah, for the time being, I think he is effectively out of the race. He's not going to be scoring those big points that he needs.
No, he won't, but I'll tell you who is back out on track. That's Hans Selnave. He has taken his faster pair and is going back out on circuit. Continue to watch here, though, your leader, Andrew Hardman. Much in the same way we've seen him do when Broomhead has looked to have a commanding lead. He's been able to pick up the pieces here and run a very, very good race. Already pulled out a gap of about 8 seconds, and there you can see fastest lap of the race thus far with the 2:13.5.
Yeah, good time to get things going here as they start lap 3. First proper at-pace time there from Andrew Hardman. And he's keeping the lines nice and clean up the hill as well. You see him just put the entire car across the curb at the top of the hill. Of course, as I mentioned before, no off-track if you get onto that curb, but if you go beyond it, then you will get that slowdown. Fortunately, it seems like all the drivers have managed to avoid that. With these Formula 3s, pretty much easy back, easy flat through that section, as it looks like Broomhead here is back out onto the circuit. So I do apologize for saying it was retirement just a little earlier. He is back out there, but unfortunately he's quite a lot of time down here. He might, I'm not too sure on whether he's lost a lap here, but actually it seems like he is still on the lead lap, so that's actually quite lucky for Broomhead. He can try and work his way back up here.
Yeah, he will. It'll be interesting to see him try to slice his way through the field at this point and how that goes for him. We watch him there. He's already ahead of Hans Selnave. He does have a little bit of a gap up to Calvin Lee in front of him, about 131 seconds based off of my live timing and scoring.
Yeah, that is quite the gap there for Broomhead as Andrew Hardman just out of Stavelo, and you see that is the status of Broomhead's gap to the lead. He has to make up almost a whole lap here, and that's going to be very hard to do in 18 and a half minutes.
Yeah, it really is, and we're still waiting for Broomhead to put the time in here, but as we continue to watch Hardman big gaps there. Colander only able to really put in 2:15s at this point. Hardman able to put in the 2:13s. So we saw him put that fastest lap down on the last lap. Let's see what this one is. It's a 2:13.1. So Andrew Hardman going even faster here. Colander about to cross over the line. His best time being a 15.3, so able to bring it down a little bit and improve on his previous best time, but not enough to be able to catch our leader at this point.
Well, fortunately for Nicholas, he has quite the gap back to Gene Hawkes, and we're on board once again here with Michael Broomhead. He has got a completely clear track ahead of him. Calvin Lee is the next car up the road for the championship leader. That's the spot where he had his crash on lap 1. He gets through it nice and easy this time around and keeps it nice and smooth.
Indeed, nice and easy. You can see him using that inside curbing there just to rotate the car a little bit. It's a risky strategy at points, but the comparatively lower speed there of Bruxelles able to get it down. Now let's stay on board with here as he goes through Puhal.
Oh, maybe just a little bit wide of the first apex, but he does more or less keep it on the track through there. Slightly compromised. Oh, I've just noticed Colander has had an off at Bruxelles. He's gotten into the wall. He has front wing damage, and he's having a bit of trouble getting going. Oh, that's going to be a bad rejoin, and I think we'll have to stay on the replay because something else has happened here. So, Nicholas Colander just going a bit wide, and then DJ, it all kicks off when he tries to get back on the track.
Yeah, it really does. This was a big-time schmozzle here. A big kerfluffle in the middle of the track. Tries to spin it back around, get himself going. That's Gene Hawkes that he collects, and then that is Calvin Lee as well.
Oh, man. 3-car incident, and probably not necessary there with the way that Colander re-entered the track. I mean, these guys are all friends, so I'm sure that there's no bad blood between any of them, but still, it's not really what you want to see in that part of the circuit. Back to Andrew Hardman, though. He's starting to come up to Hans Sulnave to lap him here.
Yes, he is, and Hans being a little bit defensive there. We've seen that kind of move out of Hans once or twice before, but he's going to dive down to the inside here of La Source. Bada bing, bada boom, and that puts Hans Sulnave a lap down.
Indeed it does, but Sulnave has been able to get to the finish more often than not. As long as he can keep the car on the track, he'll still be able to finish and get a few championship points under his belt. But Hardman back onto the Kemmel Straight now for the 5th time here. And with how long this track is, it's actually, for a long time, it was the longest Formula One circuit. I think it was beaten, or maybe just about, by the Baku City Circuit in Azerbaijan. It's 7 kilometers long, which is about 4.35 miles, and takes a very long time to get around here in something like a Formula V. In a Formula 3, meanwhile, it is a little bit quicker, but you don't quite reach the 1 minute 40-something times that, say, an F1 car does.
No, for sure, and it is a track that you have to sort of balance the setup about normally. Now, obviously, this is a fixed series that we are dealing with, but at the same time, when you're normally out here running, Reese, you've got to kind of decide whether or not you want to max out the car for these long straightaways, or maybe play it down a little bit and get some better handling through that second sector.
Yeah, that middle part of the track that Hardman's just exiting now. If you set your car up with a little more downforce, maybe a little bit of a pointier front end, and you can do that by adjusting the brake bias rearward in these things, you certainly gain quite a bit of pace. The issue is, those turns being as quick as they are through the middle sector, it's hard to pass. So I think a lot of drivers tend to go for a setup that is faster on the straight so they can take advantage of these massive braking zones into the bus stop chicane, into La Source, and into Le Combe as well. For the time being, it seems like Hardman keeping it nice and consistent across the line. That is another fastest lap for him, 2 minute 13.095 as he exits onto what is the original start-finish stretch of the circuit.
Jumping back here to Lee, and you can see that's Gene Hawks behind him. Hawks trying to stalk him down a little bit. Lee's got some better outright pace, but due to some of the attrition that we've seen out on the circuit, Hawks been able to keep up nice and tidy to him as good as possible as they work their way through Blanchimont right now, and we tick down close to 13 minutes to go here in this race.
Indeed, and I've just taken a look at Gene Hawks, and it looks like his rear wing is loose. That's slightly concerning. Calvin Lee exiting onto the start-finish stretch. Not too sure if it's something on my end that's showing up, but yeah, looks like Gene Hawks is maybe, yeah, he's got a little bit of a crab on there. The car's going a little sideways down the straights, and that rear wing is flapping loose, so I can't imagine how difficult it is to drive through these flat-out corners.
Yeah, he's got to be very tricky. Let's stay on him here. This is going to be a real test of driver skill coming up Eau Rouge with that damaged rear wing, that rear of the car wanting to break away, almost falling out over there. You can see just how much lock he's having to put into that wheel to keep it going straight. That is a very damaged car.
Yeah, and he's way down on straight line speed as well. That chassis is bent, so he's not getting the maximum speed out of that thing, just touching 207 kilometers an hour at the end of the Kemmel Straight. So for the moment, I think Calvin Lee is pretty safe for position here.
Jumping back over to your leader of the race, a pretty much flag-to-flag victory, as we said, with Mike Broomhead having that jump start. I think he was scored as having a penalty right off the bat. So Hardman making his way through the bus stop again. I've got to say, he has driven a nearly flawless race out here today.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't put a single foot wrong, has he? Just kept those times up, setting another fastest lap now into the 2:12s for the first time in race conditions. And, well, maybe, you know, that lock-up's sort of harming him a little bit, but he's so far out in front that he doesn't really need to worry about that. Calvin Lee, 46.8 seconds behind at the line on the last lap, and Lee, of course, still carrying a little bit of front wing damage. Let's check back in, meanwhile, with Nicholas Colander on board with Nick, who had the less than optimal re-entry at Bruxelles. He is starting to catch up to the damaged Gene Hawks here.
He is indeed catching him rather quickly, it has to be said. Definitely pulling him in, trying to get that last podium position. Last time out, Hawks obviously had a little bit of issue, but that damaged car from Gene Hawks really hurting him. And look at that closing speed. Oh! And that's Hawks diving off into the pits.
Well, that's an easy position there for Nicholas Colander, and he'll dust himself off after that little wide run through the bus stop chicane and keep going. They do have a fast repair, and it does seem to me that Nicholas Colander has taken it. Calvin Lee, though, with that damage on his front wing, I don't know if he has taken his fast repair. They did all go into the pits after that incident, so that remains to be seen. But now the question is, can Colander make up all of that time on Calvin Lee? Because it's about 21 seconds at the line, and with only 10 minutes left in the race, I mean, that's got to work out to something like 2 seconds a lap at least.
Yeah, it's going to be very close for him to try to catch in at that point. And with the laps that I'm seeing, they're both last laps between Lee and Colander. They were almost identical, both at 2:16.2, although Colander does have about a second faster lap overall as his best time.
Righto. So the times sorting themselves out here in now the middle stage of the race. We're actually past half race time at the moment, so not much time left for the drivers to work themselves out here, with Andrew Hardman down towards Eau Rouge and Radillon. An interesting fact about Spa, the moment he goes through that kink at the bottom of the hill, the original route of the circuit actually used to dive off to the left, and there was a hairpin going up the hill, rejoining the circuit about at the top of the hill there. It was called the L'Ancienne Douane hairpin, and the Eau Rouge Radillon complex was actually purpose-built in the 1930s. They wanted to make Spa the fastest circuit in Europe, and I certainly think they achieved that. They created one of the greatest corners of all time.
Oh, for sure. It is one of those things that you can just see an outline of and you know exactly what it is. Is Andrew Hardman now working his way down the hill? I know it has been a dream of mine to go to this circuit at some point in time. I can also report for fans of Gene Hawkes, he's had a little bit of an off coming down through Fangnes.
Yeah, so not a great night here for Gene Hawkes, but he does have a clean car now, having taken his fast repair. So we'll continue to focus here on Andrew Hardman going through Fanyeh himself, and this whole middle sector of the track was purpose built in the late 1970s. Spa started out as a public road circuit, and it used to be something like a 13-kilometer monster of a public road track. He rejoins the original public roads here, following track modifications in 2007 to reconfigure the bus stop chicane and La Source to their current state. The entire track was closed off for the first time, and it actually became a fully permanent racetrack. Spa, of course, having been around since the 1920s, there's just oodles and oodles of history to talk about here, as Broomhead sending a message here to Andrew Hardman. If I hadn't had my penalty, you'd be in trouble, mate.
Yeah, indeed. We'll have to see if we can figure out what happened there at the start. Very unlike Michael Broomhead, it just looked like he got the timing wrong on getting off of the line. That is Hardman crossing over here as we tick down with under 7 minutes to go. So 3 or 4 laps left, I would imagine, for the leader here in the number 11 again. Climbing that curve over Radion, doing it quite wonderfully. As you mentioned, Reese, got to be careful coming up over there as you can pick up the off track on there very, very easily.
Absolutely. Let's check in with Calvin Lee. He's just come through Blanchimont, and check out this gap for the lead, see if he can make up any time here. Running that Red Bull liveried car, it's been good to see Calvin out here making his debut pretty much mid-season, but he's certainly made a good name for himself here. Now in second, thanks to all the incidents that we've seen in this race, and he'll be on for a great result.
Yeah, he will. He'll be very, very pleased to get it. It'll be good to talk to him on the podium if he is able to do it, driving that Red Bull machine up and over the hill of Eau Rouge and Radion, as we will be seeing the real-life Red Bull do the same here in just a few days' time, with Formula One headed to this circuit to continue that titanic title battle that we have been privy to all this season. Going to come back and check out, though, Nicholas Colander, as that beautiful silver and blue machine, little bit of a wide line there up the top of Radion.
Indeed, he has made up a bit of time here versus Calvin Lee. The gap is now down at 43.1 seconds with a 2:16.5. His previous time there, and actually taking 4/10 out of Calvin Lee on that last lap was Nicholas Colander, so he's on a good run of pace. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like there's enough time left in the race for him to really take advantage of that, unless Lee makes a mistake, that is. Meanwhile, Michael Broomhead and Gene Hawkes are together on track. Broomhead, I think, about to make up another position here, trying to get into fourth.
Indeed, you are right, riding on board out the back of Gene Hawkes. I think that may be a little bit of a slowdown for Hawkes. That looked very, very offline coming up over Radion. Doesn't appear to be slowing down, so I may be incorrect there. A little bit of weaving there, though, for Gene. Not keeping the straight line speed, but let's keep our eyes here. Gene going to have to withstand the pressure of one of the fastest drivers out on track. Broomhead, in turn, going to have to find the right opportunity to make this. Whoa, that was very wide there for Gene, and that's going to give the opportunity for Broomhead. Dives it late on the brakes, and that's a textbook maneuver, Reese.
Absolutely. That gravel trap on the exit of Malmedy will get you if you run just a little too wide out of the corner. And Broomhead was right there to take advantage, using the bowl sort of shape of the Bruxelles hairpin to really rotate his car around. So he's on a really good turn of pace here, is Michael Broomhead. See what he can do to try and reduce that gap to Nicholas Colander, who's continuing to take time out of Calvin Lee.
Yeah, he's just working that time down a little bit, but the gap is still about 16 seconds at this point, so he's got a lot of work to do. Our leader right now coming down through Campus and Stavlo right now, so he will cross the line, I'm going to imagine, to take 2 to go.
Indeed, going to be a maximum of 2 to go here at Spa with how long the lap time is in these cars that don't exactly power their way down the long acceleration zones and flat out sections. Flat out through Blanchimont. There used to be walls very close to this corner on the outside, and the bus stop chicane used to be a little left-right flick and then onto the start-finish straight. But of course, in 2007, as I mentioned, it was reconfigured to that sort of double hairpin configuration. I think a little bit better for passing, but maybe not as nice to drive from a driver's perspective.
Yeah, it certainly does, and yet we as commentators, I know I'm very guilty of it, but we still call it bus stop, even though it is not a bus stop chicane at all. But there is Hardman. Yeah, we were indeed correct. 2 to go at the line for the leader again, up and over the hill here, working his way around. Gaps all around the circuit are relatively stable at this point, looking at about a minute gap between Hardman and Calvin Lee for second, and about 14 seconds still between Lee and Colander.
Yeah, so the gaps seem to have stabilized somewhat here towards the end. Hardman now entering the middle sector, which has stayed pretty much the same since 1979. Just a beautiful way of keeping this circuit alive after the safety concerns over the original public road layout. Many Formula One drivers, Jackie Stewart chiefly among them, campaigned to have the circuit removed because they felt it was just too dangerous, and I certainly don't blame them. You're driving at basically 200 miles an hour right past houses on public roads, and certainly that wouldn't fly today. So resurrecting the circuit as this purpose-built venue, and I think that the design of the middle sector has certainly lent itself to the flow of this track. It's one of those few cases where reconfiguring a track actually improved it, I think.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Reese. It is a very wonderful thing to come down, and to come down the hill as you do in an open wheel or a GT car. And I have to say, as you do it, it has that thing that we as drivers always look for, that really great flow where each corner leads into the others. It's not like some certain modern circuits located in a Baltic resort town that don't really have that much flow to them at all. As there, Mike Broomhead, just for good measure, setting the fastest lap of the race.
And white flag for Andrew Hardman as he goes by Gene Hawkes, puts him a lap down. So it's just home stretch now for Hardman. All he has to do is keep it between the white lines and he is good to go. Calvin Lee, meanwhile, through Fanier, keeping it nice and smooth, very careful on the inputs on the steering wheel. And I think Lee will be very happy with this result. Despite the incident with Colander and Hawkes, he has managed to rise above that and take advantage, and will be on for a very strong second place finish here.
Yeah, he'll be very happy with it. And as you said, very smooth on the inputs. Yes, this is only a 25 lap race, but the tires do wear down a little bit. 25-minute race, excuse me.
Yeah, yes, indeed. You will still have a bit of tyre wear here, especially around a circuit with so many quick corners. But Lee is going to take the white flag here. There's the start-finish line. There's Barney. He's one of the hardest working iRacing employees, is Barney the flagman.
Is indeed, but there is your leader coming out of Puget, down the hill a little bit more as he continues to work his way there through the chicane. Again, as we've said, a flag-to-flag victory here for Andrew Hardman. A great run for the number 11. Gets his way out of campus and down into Stavlo. Really one more braking zone and just one more hair-raising run through Blanchimont, and this race will be his.
Certainly will. Let's see if he nails it. Just stick to driver's left, shorten the distance out to the right and bring it into the left once more. Just kiss the curbs on either side through this right kink, and then the heavy braking zone for the bus stop. Just one more acceleration zone to go here for Andrew Hardman, and he'll have victory.
Indeed, makes his way out of the bus stop, tickles the curbs on the right-hand side of the road, and crosses the finish line. Andrew Hardman will come home to take victory here at Spa-Francorchamps by such a commanding margin that Calvin Lee, your second-place driver, not even through Puget yet.
Indeed. It was indeed a commanding victory there from Andrew Hardman, but I think Lee can be very satisfied with this finish here. He's not in a battle with anyone. He's not being pressured. He's not having to chase anyone. All he needs to do is get the car to the finish line. Of course, he now has that very precarious Blanchimont corner to go.
Yes, he does. Let's see how the 007 handles that. Coming out of Stavlaw, those kind of kinks in the road as he lines up for Blanchimont, gets the car out to the right. A little bit of a late apex there to be able to carry as much speed as possible. He's able to get through that nice and easily. Now drives the car over to the left side of the road, heavy on the brakes. A little bit of the curbing on the inside, a little bit of the curbing on the inside. Brings it out. Wide line, and across the line will come Calvin Lee to take a very well-deserved second. He will be over the moon with that. And here's your third-place driver, Nicholas Collender, doing the same, coming across the line here, unwinding the steering, heading towards Barney the Flagman to round out your podium at Spa.
That's another podium finish there for Collender. He's had a great run of form this season. And meanwhile, Michael Broomhead here, my goodness, this is not going to be a good round for him. He'll still be fourth on the track, but he'll be ruining that mistake at the start, getting that jump, and then having to serve that penalty. Not just that, but also the crash at Malmedy and at Lacombe as well. But ultimately, he will make it across the line too. Last car on the lead lap.
Indeed, as there you see Broomhead coming across, and that is going to finish up the race here for the Flying Huskies at Spa-Francorchamps. But don't go anywhere. We will be back to recap the finishing order and to have some interviews with your podium finishers. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. You just saw the Flying Husky Racing Series take on this legendary circuit, and it was Andrew Hardman coming out on top with a commanding victory. Behind him was Calvin Lee and Nicholas Colander rounding out your podium. Michael Broomhead had that penalty at the beginning due to a false start and had some problems with Gene Hawks and Hans Solnave coming in behind him. But we have the winner with us here in the booth. Andrew, it looked like you were pretty much untouchable for this race.
Well, yeah, I like to think I drove pretty well, but it was sort of the mistakes of others that led to it being a pretty easy race for me. But I'll take it. Points do matter in this series. But I was looking forward to a good race with Mike, so a bit disappointed to not have that. But yeah, still happy about the win.
For sure. And obviously on a track like Spa, there's so much that can come out to bite you. Was there anything that you were kind of particularly focused on this week in practice, or was it just kind of all the way around of getting everything right?
I mean, to go fast around Spa, you do have to use the whole track, and the track limits can pretty easily ruin your race. So I was looking forward to sort of trying to keep off the edges of the track and keep from getting slowdown penalties and stuff. So that was sort of my particular focus. And then, of course, not crashing on the first lap is another one, but managed to keep out of both of those sort of sources of trouble. So yeah, it was good.
Well, as we continue on with this season, you said that you were looking forward to a fight with Mike Broomhead. Obviously, Mike ahead in the championship right now. How good of a battle do you think you can focus in on him?
Well, I think that we showed this week that we are pretty equal on pace. I think that if we have a good race where neither of us make sort of silly mistakes, we can be nose to tail for the whole race. Ideally, I think he might have a bit more consistency than me, so it'll be up to me to sort of close that gap. But I think if we both get on a good track that we both like, we can be really close. So it'll be really fun.
Well, I know we're looking forward to seeing the two of you go wheel to wheel. Andrew, anybody you'd like to thank for this victory here today?
Of course, Mike and the whole Britannia crew. They've been really fun to race with as well. Nick Colander, he's always a source of fun in these events, and he also just had his first child this week. So really big congrats to him on that as well.
Well, we send those along as well. That was your winner, Andrew Hardman, here today. And now, Reese, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher, Calvin Lee.
I have indeed. Calvin, welcome back to the commentary box. Congrats on second, but wasn't exactly the smoothest ride with that incident with Nicholas and Gene.
Yeah, that came up out of nowhere. Nick was maybe about 9 seconds in front of us, and we heard over the race radio that he crashed, and those 9 seconds caught up real quick, and I didn't expect him to be in the middle of the road.
Oh, well, either way, you did manage to get back out there, get the fast repair in, I presume, and continue to work your way around the track. And, you were by yourself for the majority of the race after that, but I think Spa provides more than enough interest to keep a driver entertained out there.
Yeah, and actually, I didn't even go in for the quick repair. I just kept on running.
All right, fair enough. So certainly still keeping up a good turn of pace there. What was wrong with your car? Aside from the obvious, just the front wing damage making things a little bit more understeery in the high speed.
Yeah, I definitely lost some speed. I think I was about 3 seconds slower than what I was doing in practice and qualifying. The rear end did feel a little bit loose after the incident with Gene and Nick, but I managed to adapt to it and keep the car under control for the rest of the race.
Well, either way, it looks like that's another great result for you, and I suppose you'll be aiming just as high in the future.
Yeah, I'm hoping next time me and Nick can actually have a good race together. We were hoping to have a good race this time, but then I spun out in T1.
Oh, well, we'll see what happens in later events. Meanwhile, I guess before we let you go, Calvin, anyone that you'd like to thank from your garage?
I want to thank the Cadillac V Clubs for always coming in here and supporting the Flying Husky Racing and us here at Gripworks.
All right, there's Calvin Lee there, second place in the 007. And Apparently, DJ, a new father in the booth with us here.
You took the words out of my mouth, Reese. First and foremost, Nicholas, congratulations. We understand you had a little baby this week.
Oh, it's an incredible experience. Hey guys, shout out to my wife. That was, pretty incredible. She's a magical woman. And shout out to my son Axel. Very blessed to have a healthy baby boy.
That's fantastic, Nick. And we send all of our congratulations here from GSRC to you and your wife and Axel as well. To focus a little bit, to change the subject, I guess, to go on to some on-track action. A little bit of a chaotic race out there all the way around. How'd you find it?
Oh, it's always a blast on Tuesday nights with the Flying Husky crew. It started off with the homie Mike having a mental calamity, which was hilarious. And then he crashed later, and Andrew did his thing as usual. Shout out to him. Very, very focused, very detailed oriented driver, blast to race with. And shout out to Calvin on that second place. I had to go for the double kill and take out Gene and Calvin just to make things more interesting. But in general, it's always a blast racing with these guys, man.
Well, I love hearing the enthusiasm from you, my man. I kind of asked Andrew the same question, but when you're preparing for something like Spa or Le Mans last week, which is such a mega long track and they're longer laps, does that change your style of practice at all in the way you approach it, or is it just kind of the same as every other track?
I actually practice longer tracks less because, I don't know, it's weird. You can really lose focus. So for me, I've already been on like minimal sleep, and the last thing I want to do is beat myself up practicing for a track, and then you get to the track and then you're burnt out. Something I learned in RC, it's like, we all have a gas tank of magical little abilities, and you don't know it, but if you use it all up, when it's game time, you got nothing left. So I really don't like to practice the long tracks heavy, just to keep myself fresh for the race. And as you can see tonight, like, you can lose focus on the long tracks, crash on your own, just like me, just literally miss your breaking point in La La Land, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was super funny. I thought I got back on the track clean, but I forgot that it's probably the blindest, most off-camber right turn in iRacing. And Gene had no chance to miss me, really. He wasn't going to drift out wide. And, hilarious how Calvin was able to keep going. Just another good night of Tuesday night racing. Glad I couldn't miss it.
We're certainly glad you were here, Nicholas, and anybody you'd like to thank for this third place, rather, here tonight.
Oh, just my wife. She's incredible. She is superwoman. And shout out to the gang, Tuesday night Flying Husky Fun Gang. If you guys want to have some fun, chill, have a good time racing, you know where to reach us. You guys as well. GSRC, love the broadcast. You guys stay dope.
Well, thank you very much, Nicholas. Go get some sleep, my friend, if you can. But that is going to wrap up our coverage here tonight of the Flying Husky Racing Series. You just saw them tackle Spa Francorchamps. Before we head out, though, we'd like to thank some of our sponsors tonight. First off, Norsled. Save a Husky. For more information, contact Todd Curtis through email at todd@flyinghusky.racing. We'd also like to thank Flying Husky Racing. Find out more on the web by going to flyinghusky.racing. Flying Husky Racing. Track days are the best days. We'd also like to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get hold of more of her great work. Also, thanks today to the team of Reese, Sean, and Dougie. You can find out more about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed at the bottom of your screen. Also, head to our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We always keep a link in the description below so you can find it easily. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. We've got some of those upcoming races on the channel listed on your screen, so check them out, mark them down on your calendar. You're not going to want to miss any of them. But until next time, race clean, race hard. See you on the track.